Louisville, national champions, 1980.
Cardinals have won the national championship. 75th NCAA college basketball champions.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Third Banner Pod. I am excited for us to be back. Had a little bit of issues last week with scheduling, and myself was under the weather a little bit, so I apologize that we missed last week, but I'm glad that we're back on the saddle and ready to come back at you guys. Connor, Ross, Kyle, myself, we're glad to be back. Glad to be back with you guys. Guys, I need you to kind of walk me through this a little bit. I've been a little bit distracted of late with some personal and professional stuff. The interview process that I've been going through. I just wanted to announce I'll be coming back to Louisville next month for a new job that I'm starting. Don't want to say yet where yet or anything like that. Just
Congratulations.
I'm excited to get back. We're gonna take this whole pod thing to the next level. I've talked to the guys about doing stuff about like having a spring game tailgate, official tailgate of the Third Banner Pod, and just different things that I'm excited about. I know Kyle's excited about taking the whole Third Banner Pod to the next level. Ross, Connor, Ty, the whole crew, we're excited to try and take this to the next level.
Yeah,
so because of this process, I've been a little bit out of the loop. Been really distracted, through this whole interview process to where I was so stressed and couldn't even hardly pay attention to the news. So you guys are going to have to treat me like I'm a kindergartner who has not a word as to what's been going on the last 2 weeks. You guys catch me up. I know, Kyle, you've been digging in on the Musselman stuff. And what's going on, guys?
First off, congratulations on being able to move back to Louisville after being in Texas for a while. I know you've been all over it's been a long time since you've lived in Louisville, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be able to, now that we got our producer moving back, we'll be able to do some things on site. We'll be able to put our heads together, maybe meet up in person every great once in a while. Now I'll still live an hour north.
I'm so pumped.
But it'll be great. It'll be great. As far as what we've got on the agenda, first off, last week, as you know, I tweeted out that we were going to do a mock trial for if we thought KP should get a year 3. The plan was I was going to be the prosecuting attorney that argued why we should move on. Ash was going to be the defense attorney to argue why we should keep him. And the audience, you guys in the live chat, were going to be Patrick was going to be the judge, and the audience, you guys were going to be the jury who got to decide, and we were going to vote in a poll, but
it's totally my fault, guys.
Ash got a stomach flu, and we didn't end up doing it, and the timing's just not – maybe we revisit that, but the timing isn't working out too well with that right now. But with that being said, there is still – a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff about the coaching carousel right now. I think that's the main thing we want to talk about tonight. I know that a lot of people are pushing the Eric Musselman name. They're still pushing it. It's been a name we've been hearing. It's not from within sources from within our university. I want to make that very clear. I don't think they are talking to anybody really. The very few people that they are talking to are not talking and are probably told, do not talk. They're doing back channel stuff with, I'm sure, a ton of coaches right now. But the name from the agency world, from the national side, it continues to come back as Eric Musselman. And I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a smokescreen. It just seems too obvious to me at this point. It's not that I don't think Muss is a potential candidate. It's not that I don't think maybe there have been some conversations. I don't know how serious. It just seems like everyone's pointing in that direction so early, when I know you can argue that Chris Mack was hired in January basically until the job opened. Kenny Payne was basically going to be our next coach in January. I don't think it's going to be quite like that this time. I think it's a more open-ended search that doesn't have – I could be wrong. Maybe Josh Hurd's locked in on somebody, whether it's Muss or somebody else. But it just feels like to me this is being set up by agents pushing people. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that I have a little bit of a twofold answer here. The first part is I think initially you might be right in that there might have been some agents just trying to get his name floated out there for potential raise or something. But like, I don't know that Arkansas is going to be willing to give him a raise with the season that he's having. Maybe
rough.
he's floating his name to get another job somewhere else, anywhere else.
Arizona State.
But
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be really hard with the record that he has to be able to be hired here with the University of Louisville, just because the optics of it would be really poor if we were to dismiss a coach who's an alum of the university and was meant to so much to the program as a player and all of that. You could, if you dismiss a coach like that after 2 years for not winning enough games, and then turn around and hire a coach that wins 13, 14 games this year, just the optics of that are really poor. So I'm not sure where he's, if they are trying to put his name out there, how successful that's going to be to either get him more money or to, I don't see it pushing him here even stronger or anything.
I feel like there is real buzz behind his name. I don't think that it's all for naught. As I've said in the chat there, I mean, we have agents that use a job like U of L to get their prospects, get their coaches, get their clients raises all the time. So I mean that's not uncommon. So that being said, I think that there's been some real buzz as far as I think a month ago we were looking, there were like probably 4 to 5 coaches that were in that net. And then we've kind of gotten to this point to where we're kind of zeroing down to maybe like 3 coaches right now. Not to say that another coach couldn't jump up there and put their name in there with a successful run in this tourney this year. But I think what you're seeing is possibly the university is going that next step as far as using the media, as far as, who the fans would be behind, and also the agents doing that as well. So I mean, we're just kind of stuck in limbo right now. I wouldn't read I wouldn't read too much into anything. I think you need to be very, very subjective and look at everything that's going on a national level, as far as, people that are coming out as possible candidates and all of that. Like you need to take that and just kind of look at that very subjective and be very open-minded, and just realize that we have people on our side that are using certain media outlets for whatever advantage that it pertains to us, and also the agents have their media outlets and they're using that to help their clients. So we're not close enough. We're not close enough yet.
Real quick, I did want to say, a couple of people did mention, like, why would we use Muss as a smokescreen? I don't think it's that Louisville I mean, it could be, but I don't think Louisville's using Eric Musselman as a smokescreen. I think there are, nationally, and maybe even Muss's camp themselves are pushing his name to Louisville. And maybe it's all completely 100% accurate. And, there's people that, I know in the Trilly Donovan Discord, for example, it's like, there's sources that say that are telling him it's a done deal already behind the scenes, that a deal's already been done. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just have a hard time believing that. I don't think it's quite that. And I mean, Trilly hasn't said like, yeah, that's definitely true. He's just saying there are multiple sources that have come to him that can be reliable that have said that to him, and other ones that have said that they think he's our leading candidate. But again, all that comes from like places like a Trilly Donovan and some of these other agent type of sources or coaching circle type of sources, which are all outside of the university. And so why are it's very possible somebody else wants the Arkansas job, and so they're pushing Muss's name to Louisville. I mean, you don't know. That's the thing about when it comes from outside the university. It's not that it's false, but it's
Right.
that it also carries a lot of political type of agenda-driven narratives. I don't think Muss is going to be back at Arkansas next year. I really don't. I think I've heard enough from within Arkansas to believe that they may very well move on. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'm just guessing he won't be. I don't
Just
really
trying to create a
know.
market for his name.
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah,
I can't guarantee that.
I'm on board with that. Honestly, the more we see, I mean, we see that Jerome Tang's a name that just will not go away. He's a guy that will just absolutely instill a ton of confidence and a ton of excitement into a fan base. And we know that there's some friction there amongst him and the leadership there at
Kansas State, yeah.
Kansas State. So it will be very, very I don't think Josh Hurd at this point on February 15th is not zeroed in on anybody. He's got a handful of names probably, and you're going to keep seeing this. Like, there were a few weeks ago where it was Cronin and it was a done deal. And then, then there was some buzz behind Tang. And then there's real palpable buzz as Mike Rutherford says on Card Chronicle, as far as, Musselman. And, I just think that we're going to keep seeing this kind of revolving door a little bit. And I don't think that's not an accident. It's not by coincidence. But I bring up Tang because if that guy makes a run again in this tournament, and it's all about what ifs, all about the draw. It's all about
get there first.
Yeah, I know he does. I have a feeling he's going to get there. That being said, they make a run, man. He's going to have some serious buzz behind his name in connection to this job. That is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, we're a month away from that, but that is going, if it goes that way, that's going to happen. I'm just telling everybody to be, I'm saying on February 15th right now, be prepared for that, because that is going to be a thing. Because I don't think he wants to stay there. I think that has run its course. He's ready to get out of there. And if it's not us, it'll be probably an SEC job.
Ohio State.
I don't think he'll go to Ohio State.
I could see him going to USC.
Listen, I think
USC is going to open, but that's just a guess.
I think Sean Miller is going to go to Ohio State. That's just me personally. And then I see Chris Mack getting the Xavier job again. I see Xavier doing the exact same thing and getting a former coach that was successful before. And I feel that's the way that's going to run, but who knows? I mean,
I want to bring this up that Ronnie Hayes says Musselman had a mid-season last year too, and the reason I wanted to bring this up was because Kyle, you were talking about this before we came on the air, about how everybody highlights his tournament success just last year, but entering the tournament was a chore, and you brought that up before we went on air.
So weren't they in the play-in game?
I don't think they were.
I don't think so.
They were really close.
I have to go look.
So listen, anybody that's known me for a while, like you guys know, like, okay, so people from old school message board days know I wanted Eric Musselman when we hired Chris Mack.
Yeah,
I was okay with Chris Mack.
You were hard on the Muss bus.
I was hard on the Muss bus Then he goes to Arkansas and starts killing it. And that just made me like when I knew KP was going to be our coach, I was never really, you guys know, I was never really a believer that, without his experience from the Cal coaching tree with nothing but Nike connections, to me, it was just spelled utter disaster. And without getting into all that, obviously, I see Musselman's killing it at Arkansas. And I'm like, damn it, let's get him this time. Let's at least look at the guy. And we really didn't. So what I'm about to say is like almost like a heel turn for wrestling terms. Like I like Muss, I still do, but I'm gonna go over some things. First off, there is some very strong data. There's a guy in our Discord who made a big PDF where he broke down graphs and everything else of coaches when they peak and when they start to decline. And I believe from 45 to 55, they peak. And from 55 on, especially once they get to 60, a lot of them slowly start to decline. So if you hire a coach who's around 60, which Muss will be next November, you at least want his peak, if he's declining, to still be very high. Like Roy Williams had a really high peak. And so even when he's in like his 60s, it might plateau or decline, but he's still Roy freaking Williams. So he's got a long way to fall. Same thing with Coach K. I wouldn't say Coach K was as good as like when he had Shane Battier and all those guys, Trajan Langdon, and before that, Christian Laettner. But he was still Coach freaking K, and he still had some really good teams. Eric Musselman, let's just talk about his time at Arkansas. I've highlighted his positives, the 2 Sweet 16s, the 2 Elite 8s. He crushed it at Nevada. He had his first 8 seasons as a coach. He had 20-plus wins. Until this year, he's not going to get there in his 9th season. So he's done really well. But I want to highlight some things. So he gets to Arkansas. He immediately goes 20-12. He goes 7-11 in his conference. Not bad for, he gets the job at his first year. That's pretty good. That's like, if he did that next year for us, if he inherited that, I think we'd all be fine with that after the last 2 years we've had in year 1. So then is year 2, he goes 25-7. He goes 13-4 in the SEC. And, he makes a run in the tournament. And then year 3, he goes 28-9. That was his best year. So every year he goes up. He goes 13-5 in the SEC. Then all of a sudden, he gets the last year. He goes 22-14. He goes 8-10 in conference. So 22-14, he barely made it. Barely made it to the tournament. He did make a Sweet 16. So when I watched him last year, because I watch a lot of Muss, I've watched him every year, really. He's not a great offensive coach. He's a good defensive coach, normally. Now, this year, they're not good at anything, which I'll get into that. But
you're good at one thing.
Turning the ball over and losing.
That's not where I was going with that, but okay.
I know where you're going, Connor. I'm not going there.
They're good at penetrating.
Did you see where they tweeted, "Got that hog in me"? Instead of,
man.
We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
Twitter account tweeted, "Got that hog in me," like got that dog in me.
Got that hog in me.
Like leaning right into the rumors. Come on, Arkansas. Leaning right into those rumors. So anyway, he goes 22-14 last year, and it was an offensive disaster. They relied mostly on their defense, and then this year they're 12-12, and they are just free falling. They are free falling, and I mean, I watched them last night. I've watched them all year. Their offense has been a problem. They don't really let's see. Last 3 years, they shot 30% from 3 in the 28-9 year. They actually shot 31% last year, and they're shooting 32% this year, despite how bad they are. And they don't shoot a whole lot of them. Muss likes to focus on the mid-range, and his offense is mainly guys taking guys one-on-one. He has 2 point guards. Well, we know L. Ellis, obviously. He's a combo guard. They're doing the same thing that we tried with KP here. They're trying to make him a point guard, and it's going just about as well as you would imagine, except I would argue
it's worse.
It's worse because he was at least better at scoring when he played here. He's still bad at defense.
He's only averaging what, like 8 points a game?
Not very much. He's not very good at scoring there. And, his defense and turnovers are still just as bad as they were here. So he's basically the same player, except he's not scoring the ball as well. So that's a problem. But Keon Minifield, who we know well because we thought we were going to get him here, he's a guy that ended up going there. He struggled mightily. There. Of course, he started mid-semester when the portal transfer or when the 2-year rule got led to where he had to sit out. He became eligible. So he had one really good game starting out, and he's not done anything since then. So they don't really have good movement on offense. Their spacing's terrible. And it's basically Marks just takes his guy one-on-one and jacks up step-back threes with a second left on the shot clock. It looks a lot like what we saw here last year, which, of course, L. Ellis is their combo guard at point guard. But it looks a lot like that. And I as a huge Muss fan, am looking at it, and I'm thinking about the age data. I'm not seeing how this is going to work here. I mean, if he comes here, if he's the guy, he has got to get an offensive-minded coach. He's got to get better shooters. He's got to rely more on three-pointers. Phase out the program.
Juwan Howard's not going to Ohio State. Juwan Howard's about to get fired at Michigan.
They're just trolling at the Ohio fan in here, the Ohio State fan, the Ohio podcast guy.
And
hey, we like the Ohio podcast.
They're good to us. So.
They're good to us.
He may not like me here soon, depending on if I get that job.
Are you never mind. I'm not gonna
don't talk about it open on the air, Connor.
That's what you told me.
You got mad at us for saying stuff.
That's
now he's gonna bring it up.
Yeah,
on his
but
own.
I didn't say where.
Well, if you're never mind. Okay. So long story short with Muss is his offense. Like his offense has got his defense overall has been really good at Arkansas until this year. But his team this year, they look like they don't give a shit, to be honest. They don't even look where they're passing the ball when they pass it. Like what I saw last night it was hard to watch. And Tron, who I don't know if he's in here tonight in the chat, but he said
he's here. He's here.
He said that Eric Musselman was the Bobby Petrino of basketball. And that has stuck in the back of my mind ever since he said that. Short tenures. Doesn't get along terribly well with his assistants from what you hear. Starting to bring family on board and usually maxes out after 3 or 4 years and then the decline starts. I don't know, guys. There's just a lot of things and again, I know the listeners that are thinking like they're big Muss bus guys. I get it. I've been on the Muss bus. I'm trying to explain why I'm more leery now than I was.
Well, I do want to interject about the family comment. Like, he just has the one son, right? Like,
they also have smaller staffs, so like Petrino could bring on like a.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like what I was going to get to is that like it is actually extremely common for men's basketball head coaches to have a son on their staff. Like, if you go around the landscape, like that actually is not uncommon.
Or they hire like a
staff like that.
I'm probably reaching with that one, but
we had a previous basketball coach that did that, and it was very successful. Multiple times.
Let's just take out the son thing.
I mean, even Eric Musselman was probably on his dad's staff at one point.
He was. Right? That's exactly what he was. He was. I don't mind it. I'm looking at all the similarities, but you can throw that one out. That's fine. The Bobby Petrino thing though is more about not getting along with assistants, burning out after 3 or 4 years, and then moving on to the next job. But you're clearly a good coach, just in short spurts. Like I feel like Petrino stayed too long last time, and he just fell off. Now you can argue the AD change and all that contributed to it, but whatever happened, 2018 was an unholy disaster. And what I saw last night out of Arkansas, what I've seen 3 or 4 different times this year in various games, it's been a disaster. Like those guys are too talented to be that bad. Like, you remember what we all said in the offseason when he landed that transfer portal class? We were like, holy shit. This dude's landed in the freaking like Avengers.
Yeah.
And They look terrible. I think we could beat them right now. I really do. I do.
Without Sky?
No, with Sky as well. Yeah.
Well, and
that's not a compliment.
Kyle, I don't even think that's a hot take because, like you said, Musselman's best teams are defensively very strong, and this Arkansas team is not. So you're talking about literally just, let's just be honest what it is. We're talking about glorified AAU ball at the college level, at the D1 level. We can score with a lot of fucking teams. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to drop that F-bomb.
We also don't play defense, Ross.
While we're a podcast,
I know
we're
that.
on the radio.
I know that, but like they don't play defense either. So like you're talking about a shootout. So if our teams were to, it's not going to happen because we're not going to tournament. But if it somehow did happen and we met in the NIT or the CBI, whatever, I mean, I would say there's a good chance Louisville wins that game. It's not crazy, Kyle. I'm with you.
Yeah, Nate, I don't know if Nate's saying he like has read my or agrees with my comment, just never thought of it that way, or if he thinks it's ridiculous. And I know Nate from 247. He's not afraid to say how he feels. So,
well, and then like
I know it's kind of a hot take for some people. I get it.
Conversely, if say Musselman ended up here, I will say that despite all of what we've said, I would still be super excited.
Yeah. I mean,
I still think
awesome
that
here.
I mean, his team this year could just have, a locker room cancer or something that's sabotaging that team. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
It's hard.
So, like,
we know the rumors of what's going on.
Well, I'm not doing it. We're not getting
Connor.
into that. Like,
that was a Missouri troll that started that.
So, like, I do want to say that if he ended up here, I would be really excited. This Rush Smith bourbon is really good, by the way. I got that in my Coke Zero.
Oh, shout out to Russ Smith. Rusticulous.
Hey, just think about how much more bourbon is going to be accessible to you at a very affordable price living in Louisville again.
By the way,
what I was going to say is that
real quick, if you have not subscribed to our channel, we are almost to 500 and we haven't even been around for a year. I mean,
getting close.
Subscribe. We are close.
Yeah.
Subscribe. We want to hit that 500.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell your friends.
And make sure you hit the notification button so that way when we go live, it sends you that notification. You can hop on and watch it.
Nate says he was agreeing with me.
But with the ability that he has as a coach and the style of play that they have, I do think that he could do good things here. I do think that, our program is a much higher level even than Arkansas. So I don't want to sound like we're totally against Musselman.
No.
We were just providing, we just wanted to provide some of the opposite, opinion, the con side of it.
For me, I was like at the top of the bus. Like he was my top candidate like 2 years ago. I don't think he is my top candidate anymore. But if he's like down the list and fine.
And I'm not one that's like, we have to have this particular coach or that particular coach. I've always been one that's like, you guys name like 7 or 8 guys, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like any of those guys. Like,
yeah, I mean that's kind of where I am. I mean, I can get behind a lot of guys. There are definitely names that strike more interest and deliver up more enthusiasm as far as me personally. Going back to you, Kyle, I mean, you were heavily on the must bus and you're sliding a little bit. So I'll just ask you, I mean, who's at the top of your list right now?
Okay. So let me
hierarchy. Here we go.
Let me go through like there's people that I think aren't as realistic. So if Scott Drew is more realistic than I think, which I don't think he is, but again, I'm not saying I know that. He's been at Baylor forever now, and he's had plenty of opportunities to leave. He just opened a new arena.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetically, if you call, you put your feelers out, which I assume we probably did, and he says, look, I really want to sit down and talk about this. I know you guys approached me, which they did last time this came around. He was like, oh, I'm flattered. Thanks. I think I'm all right. But if he were to say, you know what, I've thought about that, and let's sit and really talk about this. He goes straight to the damn top of the list.
Yeah,
He goes straight to the top.
100.
So hype. I'm going to assume Scott Drew's not attainable. Shaka Smart, I'm going to assume the same because I think he likes it at Marquette. I know the tournament thing. Shaka's also only 46 years old, so he's got plenty of room to grow into that tournament. And a lot of those years he didn't run the Havoc defense or the Havoc system that he ran at VCU. He ditched that for some Chris Mack type of system at Texas.
Yeah, half court stuff wasn't working.
It didn't work. I mean, he didn't do terrible, but he was just mediocre. And it wasn't what we would want here. He's back to his old system at Marquette, but I do think he needs to make a tournament run this year because his guys did underachieve last year. Shaka Smart would be up really high on my list, but he's another one I just don't think wants to leave the state of Wisconsin, his home state. He is in a really good conference. Big East is a great basketball conference. He's got everything he really wants and needs there, but maybe he would be interested. And if he is
the guy because they don't have football there.
Yeah, that too. So ruling those two guys out, then Chris Beard, I don't think we're going to consider Chris Beard because of what his background is. I mean, my thoughts on it, I don't condone any of it, but I also don't look at a basketball coach as a guy I'm trying to like live my life after. I'm just here, like, keep your nose clean while you're here, and I'll root for you as a coach of the team I like. And I'll root for the team. I separate all that so long as you're not, but it doesn't mean I condone it. And I totally understand why people are against it. I do. I totally get it. So I'm not arguing that. I don't think our university will consider him. So I'm ruling him out. So now you get into the weeds, and I'm looking at a combination of your candidate pool. Everybody's got their warts at this point. Once you rule those guys out, if they're not available, TJ Otzelberger's name gets thrown out there a lot. He has a $20 million buyout at Iowa State, and he's deeply rooted there. His wife was a former athlete and a big-time athlete at Iowa State. I know he was an assistant there for years. He's not leaving. So
No.
I'm looking at, you got the Muss, Jerome Tang, Tang's in his second year. I wouldn't mind Jerome Tang at all. I think he coaches great defense, but again, his offense needs some major work too. He's had to deal with some things he shouldn't have had to deal with this year, though, and I give him a little bit more slack than I do like Eric Musselman, for example.
He's a dude that shows, though, when he has offensive talent, his system thrives.
Yeah, I would say towards the people aren't going to like this. I'm going to let y'all know. The top of my list as of today, despite the fact that he has a show cause, is William Wade. William Wade.
Favorite Wade, baby.
Listen, before people freak out,
State.
I already know the arguments. You can't bring a guy on who was involved in the very scandal that we were. Well, you can't pay players as a coach like he did, even today, or at least not. Connor's going to say, there might be a loophole or something in general, but you have NIL now. You do pay players. I don't think Will Wade's going to do the things he did back then. I personally, I understand the moral objection of a Chris Beard. I don't give a shit that Will Wade paid players. I don't. I didn't then.
The stuff that he was accused of.
I actually liked the rogue nature of him just giving the finger to the NCAA. Like, to me, that
everybody's doing it. Everybody was doing it. We were
rallies
doing it.
Our fan base.
Everybody was doing it. Okay, he got caught, but I mean, now it's legal. It's like Kelvin Sampson. You're not going to hire him because he got fired for sending text messages to recruits.
Right.
That's what people said, and guess what he did?
If Kelvin Sampson was a decade younger, I'd be like, go get him.
Yeah. He went to Houston because nobody else wanted him because we can't hire him. Now.
Yeah, I mean the Will Wade thing. I mean, we have all that stuff on tape talking about, the FBI tape, him talking about we made them a strong ass offer, all of that. I mean, there's ways to legally just do that now with NIL.
Right.
In no holds bar, You don't have anything to worry about. And Louisville, we have coffers that are deep. And if it was the right coach, like our NIL is ready to go. Like it's ready to be used. And Will Wade, I think, is a guy that would use the hell out of it. And he would succeed big time here.
Well, and the other argument, just the other objection is, well, he has, and this one is very valid. He has a show cause, which means there are recruiting restrictions until the summer of 2025.
You can get around those.
You can't get around those, but I think we can recruit.
You have to explain the hire
through it. I think we can still land some guys despite those restrictions, but that's probably going to be the biggest hang up and maybe why he's not considered. All I'm saying is I would still consider him because, like, and the argument's going to be, look, he made one Sweet 16 at LSU with all that talent. He didn't do a whole lot with it otherwise. And my argument's going to be the dude was like 35 freaking years old when he was doing it. So it's like the guy was, and he had success.
He's still fairly young. Like
he's 41 right now.
Yeah,
and so he's not even entered per the data that
to me. I'm glad you brought that up.
He hasn't even entered his coaching prime, and he's crushing it at McNeese State.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, out of realistic candidates, if I rule out Otzelberger, Smart, Scott Drew, Chris Beard, for whatever reasons, I don't think they'll be interested. I hope I'm wrong on any of them. I do. But assuming they're not available, that's my guy, Will Wade.
Beamer says, what about little Ricky Pitino? What do you guys think? Ross, what do you think?
I honestly, like, I have a lot of insight with recruiting and the way things ran when the glory years under Rick Pitino were here. And when Richard was here, both times, we achieved the ultimate success with the highest of highs in Rick Pitino's tenure here. Richard's a hell of a recruiter. He's a very good scout. Like, people don't realize that guy can scout like nobody's business, like his daddy can. He knows how to scout. Richard's a good coach. Like, he's a very good coach. I think politically, looking at it, I think it would be a good thing because you could kind of mend some fences. If you were able to actually get Richard here, you could have a lot of the politics behind the scene as far as donors and yada yada. Right. You could mend some of that, and you would get a lot of that back on hand. That being said, I would have a hard time believing that Richard would take this job with the way, Rick was treated on the way out. That's just me. But at the same time, I know that Rick wants the best for his son. And I know that Rick knows what kind of possibility this would be for Richard to get a job like this. So, it's a possibility. I would say it's more unlikely than likely, but I would be personally.
Get out of here with that. You've always been a hater, and always KP is not going to be back next year. Take it to
year 3, KP. Let's do it.
KP,
I would be on board. Hating. I would be on board with Richard. And to that highlighted comment, just to bounce, I'm going to bounce this one thing to another. Kyle, Will Wade's buyout from McNeese State after this year is like $1 million. Like that's nothing.
Even with the new contract that he just got.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing. Like, that's not for a big school like us. That's easily obtainable. To go with what Nate is saying as far as Tommy Lloyd, I don't think it's a well-known secret that there's a really good chance that Tommy Lloyd is on his way out of USC.
Wait,
Arizona.
what? Oh,
Yeah, whoa, you got the wrong
Enfield
dude.
Sorry,
is on his way
Arizona.
out of USC.
Arizona.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant Arizona. I'm sorry.
You're good.
So that's kind of one of those names. He's like kind of like on he's one of those dark horse candidates for this job. He's one of those names that people keep keeping an eye on because there's some like friction there as far as money and, keeping him. And it just seems like that he's on his way out of there. I don't know where he's going to end up, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be at Arizona next year.
Ty, I'm with you, man. He's a West Coast guy.
I don't see him leaving.
But if we could land, man, if we could land a guy like Tommy,
he's a Mark Few disciple. He's never leaving the West Coast.
I'm with you.
I mean, say that.
We can dream.
Never say never, though.
And
and then I just wanted to make mention. I know we talked about Chris Beard a couple times, and I actually don't think that. I think that it's very unlikely Chris Beard goes anywhere this offseason. And the reasons that I would say that are various, but like the main couple reasons that I have on that is I don't think he would leave unless it was an extraordinary amount of money, more than what Ole Miss could pay him. And the reason I say that is because, one, he's got a very good situation there with, very, 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 very good facilities at Ole Miss. They've got a great practice facility. They've got a great arena that's not that old. The arena's maybe 10 years old. So it's a really good facility there for him. Plus, he's working under an AD that was one of the all-time great basketball players at Ole Miss. So anytime he brings up a concern with it about the program, he's going to have the ear of that AD really strongly because he's going to know what it takes to compete in basketball. So he's got a great situation right there. And it would take a lot, not just a historically better program or something like that to be able to entice him away. It would take probably a lot more money.
The strong ass offer is what you're trying to say?
There's an interesting factoid about Chris Beard in Arkansas that I did not know. And I heard in the Curry Hicks Sage, if you ever see that burner account on Twitter, they do spaces with Coaching Carousel. A guy at Arkansas that's pretty high up was in that spaces and said when Chris Beard was at Arkansas Little Rock, he had a guy that's now on the board of trustees at Arkansas that he was very close with. And Arkansas definitely is a bigger basketball school than Ole Miss. I don't know if he would leave Ole Miss for them, but if
but there's a personal connection, that's one of those draws that I could see doing it.
But if Muss leaves, I think they're going to make a push for Chris Beard, and I think it's going to start with that board of trustees member. And I think it's the board of trustees he was on. So don't quote me on that, but I think that is the connection to Arkansas Little Rock. And it's somebody on that type of level at Arkansas right now who he's got a good relationship with from all accounts. Real quick, if you haven't already, please like this episode. If you're enjoying the content, subscribe if you haven't already. Again, we are almost at 500, gentlemen. We are almost there.
Get us there, boys.
So since I haven't been able to get it in, pause. Will Wade has a lot of NIL money at McNeese State.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, all of the LSU donors that are pissed off that he got fired.
Where have we heard that in our own hometown?
Yeah. Are all funneling money to McNeese State.
People going to Bellarmine instead of U of L.
Bring him to Louisville. I know it's really far away.
That's why he's getting dudes at McNeese State. And if you can get somebody that can already recruit, that has, I don't know how much money they have at McNeese. I promise you it's nothing that they're going to have at 502 Circle. Promise you that.
Yeah.
But if you can get dudes to come to McNeese State, you sure as hell can get dudes to come to Louisville.
Absolutely.
I mean, you all know who my 1 and 2 are. It's Chris Beard, Will Wade. and then the rest of the field.
I just don't think that Chris Beard is realistic for the reasons that I gave, because I think it would take something extraordinary to get him, either a personal connection or just far and away paying more than what Ole Miss is willing to pay. It's not just a historical significance of your program.
Like I said, there's not a lot I've been told that comes out of the university right now. They're not talking very much, but I do trust. I've had two different people that I think would definitely know that both said the same thing. They were like, you guys need to let it go. Like, not me, like you guys, but like you guys in general. Like, because I asked, I said, is he even real? I just want to know. It's not even like I'm pushing. It's like, you guys all got to let that go. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to take their word and believe that they know. I mean, it's secondhand. It always is whenever I share something. So I always caveat with that. So, I'm not in those conversations. Obviously.
And 26 days, by the way, is the countdown until the first day of the ACC men's basketball tournament.
Oh, so the day of shame.
I'm not saying anything beyond that. That's the first round.
The day of shame.
Yeah. It seems so far away.
It's less than
we still got to play Duke.
Yeah, we got. Hey,
I'll bounce back off of that. I mean, there are some people's opinions that I put higher in regard. I mean, it's not like it's written in stone or it's a testament, but like, Mike Rutherford has said multiple times on his pod about he thinks that Louisville's going to win an ACC tournament game this year.
Please God, don't let that happen.
I mean, it would surprise me. We're going to be playing some low seed at the beginning, and
you're looking at who we're going to possibly be facing off with. I mean, that's not even a wild take. I mean,
like Boston College or Georgia Tech.
Boston College just beat
Notre
us.
Dame.
Yeah, but
we can beat those teams. I mean, we've got a good offense that's been proven. So
I don't think anybody's
guaranteed. Could outscore teams.
I guess he guaranteed it. I wouldn't guarantee it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Now, if we win 2, I'm going to be very damn surprised. We
got to win 2 in a row. Winning 2 would be absolutely a success for this in the ACC tournament. That would be like going above and beyond for both this team and this coaching staff.
It'd be a good way for the staff to go out if that happened.
He's getting a year 3 if we go to the semifinals of the ACC tournament.
Shut up, Connor. Shut up.
Nah, not worried about that anymore. And I've been worried as of like. I've just been worried because, like, I'm just paranoid that, like, we always tend to do it's like we reverse course all the time. Like, you think we're heading one way, and, like, we're like, Louisville basketball is like a freaking movie. Well, man. It's like, wait.
I will go back to 2 years ago in football because you remember early in the season, it looked like the football team was going in the tank, and we kept thinking, well, maybe we need to start rooting to lose these games so we can fire Satterfield. And then we just kept winning enough games to where it didn't look like it. And then we were like, I guess we'll have to deal with another year. And then next thing you know, Cincinnati hired him away. So
he was good enough to
I don't think we're going to get that lucky.
No, I don't think so either. But
I would be I'd be like, wow. I mean,
but we were having kind of that anti-luck is what I was.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And it always ends up being in a way you don't expect it. That's a good way to put it. So
which goes to show you things always work out. They do work out for a school like Louisville. Like, they will work out.
They need to start working out basketball, Ross. It hasn't worked out for years.
Listen, I know. I mean, this is just things don't stay stagnant, and they don't stay the way that they are forever. Like, it's not going to stay like this. Like, our time is coming back to go back up, man.
Well, I mean, have no patience, Ross. I'm not a Detroit Lions fan. I'm not hanging in there for 40 freaking years.
But the Lions were always but that's not even an apples to apples. That's not even an apples to apples thing. Like, the Lions were always notoriously a bad team. U of L has a lot of prestige and a lot of they have there's a lot of notoriety riding behind that name. So, like at this point right now, and I said in the chat earlier, just to bring that back up to the Ohio podcast, they had asked, does a school like Ohio State have the upper hand by firing Holtman now over a school like U of L? At this point in time, I'll say no, because we're still so early in the NIL period, and we're still so early in all these new contracts. Yeah, like Ohio State's going to have a ton of money to throw at a coach, but we're not far enough along in the process to where prestige and tradition don't matter with a school like U of L when you're talking about Ohio State and basketball. And on top of it,
the timing is we have a former alum, so we're going to give him.
I mean, and
everybody knows what's coming.
To top it off, I mean, Ohio State's always going to be a football school.
Yeah,
we're always going to be. I will say, in their defense, Ohio State is no slouch in basketball. I mean, people like they're not. But they got 2 national championships, 7 or 8 Final Fours. I mean, they're not. They're not chopped liver in basketball.
But they're good. But their basketball program is always second fiddle to their football program, and it always will be. And when you're talking about coaches like this, the most successful college coaches that we've ever seen, these guys are egomaniacs. They're very type A. They don't like playing second fiddle to anybody, even within their own sports administration program. They don't like that.
I think Ohio State should go after either Cronin or John Gross, because John Gross has done a remarkable job at Akron. I'm not joking.
It's going to be Sean Miller, man.
I think John Gross would be a great hire for
him. But one name y'all haven't said yet is Greg McDermott. He doesn't get along with his AD at Creighton from all accounts. Well, and Greg McDermott, I think, would do great in the Big Ten.
So I mean, just to take it back, I like at this point in time, where we are with NIL and where we are with conference revenue sharing and all that, we're not at a point yet where Louisville's prestige and tradition falls behind a school like Ohio State and what they have to offer in their money. Like, it's not there yet, but in 5 years, come back and talk to me. Like, that might be a real.
Well, and that's why we've said, Kyle and I and everybody else on the pod has said numerous times that we actually have to get this hire absolutely right. And that's why you can't take a high risk chance. You got to find somebody a little more proven, a little more of a sure thing.
Well, that's what scares me is there's just not, unless we can pull off a Scott Drew out of our asses. My God, if we pulled off Scott Drew, because I think that's going to be even harder of a pull than Rick Pitino. I don't think he's going anywhere. Ever. Rick Pitino got fired from his NBA job, so he was open. He needed a job, and he had previous ties to the state at least. Now, it was still wild that he picked his rival. But this would be an even bigger pull than that because, I mean, the guy has been rooted at Baylor. I mean, I know schools have tried to poach him. It doesn't even get past the, thanks for your interest. I'm going to go
You've lived somewhere for 20-plus years, that's home. It don't matter where you're actually from. If you live somewhere for 20 years, that's home.
I mean, maybe he's looking for a new challenge.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe he feels like that's the only way I can see it is if he's like, you know what, I've done everything I've wanted to do here. I just have a hard time believing. I feel like he's going to consider that home. He's like, at the very least, I'm getting paid millions to do something I love. And if I start sucking, I still built this thing and then we'll just move on. So I'm just going to keep doing what I love to do in a place I love to do it. But hey, man, if Josh Hurd pulls that off, I mean, that would be the guy that you would be like, okay, that's the kind of hire we really need. But how many of those besides him and how obtainable are they? I really think it's just him. You could argue Chris Beard on the court, but we all know that's probably not going to happen because of off the court. So it's not even really worth getting into the weeds with that.
So here's the one thing about.
Go ahead, Connor. Sorry.
So here's the interesting thing about the Ohio State hire. The firing was done by Gene. The hiring is not going to be done by Gene. The hiring is going to be done by Ross Bjork. So who Ross Bjork has who he has on his list is going to be different than what Gene Smith has on his list. And we may not even be talking about the person that Ohio State's going to hire. Because I don't know the relationship between Buzz Williams and Ross Bjork, but Buzz Williams would take the Ohio State job like that.
God.
I would laugh my ass off if he hired Buzz Williams. I'm sorry.
Buzz
I would be
He's
so
a good
much
coach. He's just not a. He doesn't
He's
move
just
the
a
needle.
meh coach.
Yeah,
He's made the tournament in half of his
he's
career
like
years.
solid.
Like, come on.
He's a guy who his floor is going to be like an NIT type of thing, but his ceiling's not much higher. It's like his ceiling and floor are like
it's like a safe hire. Like,
okay, I did want to ask one
question. Buzz would jump at that job because he don't stay anywhere.
No.
Hey, I did want to ask one question. If there was a dark horse candidate that at a lower major school that you don't hear their name much, and he's definitely going to be the coach at Louisville, who would you guys pick? Because I would pick Shirts at Indiana State.
Even though they lost last night?
I mean, you can't win every damn game. I'm not counting Will Wade at McNeese State. I know Ty is like, Will Wade. No, I'm not counting him. Just
what do you classify as mid-major?
Basically anything below the Power 6, and not a coach like Will Wade who has already had obvious success at the high major level. So even like a Dayton type of school, or now there are a few except like your Xavier, for example. I guess they're in the Power 6, really. I count.
The reason I'm asking is does the Mountain West count as a quote unquote mid-major?
Not Pope.
Pope's not in the Mountain West, dumbass. He's in Power 6.
Well, damn it, they changed it all. I get sick of that crap. We're still in Conference USA, aren't we? Anyway, who are you gonna say, Connor?
I'm trying to gather it.
Oh.
So I was trying to see where I could go with that.
Okay, well, just a guy who out of left field, like a guy who's like an up and comer who you would be a risk to hire him because they're a lower level. Dusty May doesn't count either. Let's just pull him out because he's at FAU. But I mean, he made a fine. We all know
Dusty meh.
Yeah, I'm not big on that either.
I'm the same way, Ash.
I'm going with David Riley.
I'm not big. I feel like John L. Davis. They just ride him to whatever wins they can get at this point. And I mean, that's fine, but it kind of reminds me of a Tom Crean when D Wade was there. I'm not saying that John L's as good as D Wade, but he carries them like that. And then all of a sudden, Tom Crean never even came remotely close to replicating his Final Four year. I just worry that a guy like Dusty may be really benefiting from him.
I got two guys.
Who? All right, let's hear him, Connor.
Randy Bennett.
Okay.
He's not leaving. What? He's going to retire before he goes anywhere.
Or Brian Dutcher.
Brian Dutcher. Yeah. That'd be a good one. He's older, isn't he?
That was why I asked my Mountain West question.
Any in his 60s, Brian Dutcher?
Probably.
Yeah, he wouldn't be around very long. If I'm taking a risk, it's got to be on a younger dude. But that's just me. I'm going with Shirts.
I'm going David Riley.
Okay.
And I'm probably the only one on the
Where the hell is he at?
Huh?
I don't know.
He's at Eastern Washington University. He's 35 years old. In his third year as head coach.
Okay.
In conference this year, he's 10-1. Last year, 16-2 in conference. 35 years old. Like I said, he's been on staff there since 2011. So it tells you how young he was when he first got on staff.
He was there when he was 20. Jesus.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he's going to be at a much bigger school very soon. He succeeded Shante Leggins, who was the head coach there before. They should have beat Kansas in the NCAA tournament during the bubble year in Indianapolis. They literally led that whole game. But then after that season, Leggins went to University of Portland, and the entire team transferred out.
Yeah.
I didn't know Riley still had an 18-16 record.
When he said his name, I was just like, okay.
I mean, this dude, he actually is I think that he's been the secret to the success behind that program since 2011, because Shantae was exceedingly good. And then before him, Jim Hayford was the coach before Shantae. And both of those coaches used Eastern as a springboard to bigger schools and then flopped. And I think David is actually one of the guys that propped both of those coaches up.
I'll tell you what.
He's got to go somewhere in between, but that's like a guy that I
No. See, that's a question. Like, if you had to take a big gamble on a low major, just immediately gets the job. That's why I went with Josh Schertz, but it'd be a gamble for sure, going from Indiana State to Louisville. But I wouldn't be mad at it.
Schertz would be good.
I wouldn't be mad at it. I mean, we'd have to swing and miss on some dudes.
Yeah.
If we were like, you know what, we're just zeroing on Josh Schertz, we're not even going to call anybody else, I'd be kind of like, what the hell?
A.W. Hamilton?
I wouldn't be mad at it. I think he's around 47,
miss on the big names,
years old.
I think Schertz will be a home run, though.
He's
Lawson.
young enough to be.
I think that anytime you see a guy dominate at a lower division and then come up and prove themselves in D1, then you can take a chance on them at a bigger school. But you have to have them prove themselves at that in-between stop like Indiana State.
I mean, Preston's doing pretty good at Moorhead right now. But, I wouldn't take him here as our, take a chance home run guy. But AW is doing really good at EKU.
That was my second one.
He can get some dudes. He is a 4-star guard right now.
Well, who's at Center College?
That's what's his name? That was our president or whatever. Awesome Lawson. So we talked about earlier. We don't know if they're legit Musselman as far as him being a lead candidate. That's what the agent world's pushing. That's what the national guys are pushing. But it could be agenda driven. It could be from Muss's camp without knowing what our side thinks, which they're not talking. Everything's back channels and they're keeping a low profile, which is smart. That's what we should be doing while Kenny Payne's our coach and former player, give him the respect of running the program until the end of the season. But it's hard to know until we know what our university is doing exactly what's legit and what's not. I think Muss is a candidate. But if I had to guess, Awesome Lawson, I think it's being forced on people because we don't know, and I think that side's pushing it.
Put Danny's last comment up there about Donnie Tyndall. Isn't Donnie Tyndall up for the Tarleton job?
Yes, that's correct. He's
and then I wanted to mention that Pat, one of our co-hosts normally here on the show, Pat Kelly, brought up that in regards to Schertz, he'd probably leave for Michigan State if he was any good. And my opinion is I don't care. Like, if somebody comes in here, like, this is such an important decision that if some coach comes in here and flips us around and in 4 years leaves for another opportunity, but they leave us in a much better spot, that's
be
fine to me.
What was he, an Izzo assistant or something?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, what's his connection?
But that general mindset doesn't bother me, regardless of which coach we're talking about.
Here's the next question:
Does
Izzo retire this year?
But that's because I live in Central Indiana. I don't want to hear their bullshit when they take our coach. So I don't want Dusty.
Valentine is who he was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, to bounce off that Michigan State thing, I mean, looking at somebody like Denzel Valentine, whoever just said that.
Oh, yeah, he's a former Michigan State player, yeah.
I thought he was talking about
he's a beloved Michigan State alum. Like,
was he on the team that beat us in, like, the Elite Eight or whatever?
He may have been.
I know he had that
really close connection with that I can't remember their name, but the child that had I think it was leukemia or Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he became kind of a national story for Michigan State that year, and he's doing a hell of a job at Loyola Chicago. So, I mean, you're talking dark horses. That's one. I saw multiple people name it in the chat. Anthony Grant at Dayton He's already got previous experience at the Power 5, Power 6 level. He knows what it means to succeed at this level. And I think Anthony Grant, when you're looking at a guy that is a dark horse at a lower mid major, he gets me as excited as Shaka Smart does, honestly. I think that there were some things that went wrong, not completely in his control when he was at Alabama. And I think there's a real chance with the way everything is laid out today with NIL. I think there's a chance that he could just absolutely kill it at Louisville. And again, he's in that window. He's pretty damn young. So
yeah,
I'm totally on board with that Anthony Grant comment for sure.
I know Danny Grace is bringing up Moats, and Kyle, you have pretty strong feelings when it comes to Moats.
I wouldn't say strong. Hey, if Nate Oates decided,
it's a strong opinion. Go ahead, admit it.
No, I don't think it is. If Nate Oates decides like, hey, I'm interested in a job, and we have the buyout money, which would be, I believe, $10 million, and we bring him,
I think
and some other guys say no. Like, let's say, all the guys I said I really want say no, except for maybe Will Wade, and they say Will Wade because of the show calls. We're not even going to bring him on. I'd be okay with Oates, but my reservation that you're talking about, Ash, is that in the tournament, he just jacks threes, and it's like,
I totally agree with you.
In a one and done setting, you have to be able to rely on more than just jacking 3-pointers all the time. Because it kind of reminds me of Mike D'Antoni's Houston Rockets teams. They were always dominating the regular season. Then they got up, I think they got up 3-1 they got up 3-2 on Golden State. Now, Chris Paul did get hurt. He pulled his hammy. So that hurt them. But what they really did that was a problem is in the next 2 games, they just jacked threes nonstop, and they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And so they lost both games. And, I mean, I know Golden State shoots threes. And the three-pointer, he's like the anti-Muss. Like, Muss is, like, not relying on three-pointers enough, and he's too focused on the mid-range. But you also need a little bit of that. You can't – and, you need to take it inside some. You can't just run down there and jack up threes, because when Oates' offense is rolling, which is most of the time, it's a thing of beauty. It's like, holy shit, this is
awesome. It reminds me of Patino at Providence.
We're lighting up the scoreboard. His defenses are inconsistent. Some years they're pretty good. Other years they're really bad. But on offense, man, in the tournament, one cold day, it's like, well, what else are you going to do if your whole offense is predicated on jacking threes? And so that, and I mean, if you look at his tournament year, it reflects that. It reflects a school that relies too heavily on one specific thing, and it burns them.
I got another name.
But I'd take Oates.
Well, before we get to that name, Connor, Trent asks about Wes Miller or Mark Pope. Connor, did you have an opinion on either of those guys?
Mark Pope's probably – I don't want a UK guy, and I don't think he'd leave BYU anyway. He's pretty – I think he's into that. I think he's actually –
They were ranked at one point.
And I think he's originally a West Coast guy because he started at Washington before he transferred to UK.
Yeah, they don't ever leave West Coast. Whoever said that earlier, I guess they kind of Denny Crum, but you're talking like 80,000 years ago.
If they're like a Mark Few disciple, they don't leave the west of the Mississippi.
Ross, did you have any opinion on Wes Miller?
Wes Miller would be, to me, getting Wes Miller would be like Cincinnati hiring away Satterfield from us. I mean, like he's.
I noticed a lot of UC fans are jumping off the.
He's okay, I mean, like. I think he's got his contingency, but I don't think it's anything that moves the needle. And I think there's also a lot of worry there if he, again, if a coach is successful here and they bounce for like their dream job, then so be it, because they left us better than where we are right now. But there's a lot of underhand talk about Wes Miller and that UNC job ultimately down the road, if he can parlay everything and make it work. So that being said, I don't want to be a stepping stone for UNC. So I would kind of be against that.
And then Mark Pope, I believe, was freshman of the year in the Pac-12 when he was at Washington too. So, but Connor, I know you said you had another guy you wanted to throw out there. Who was that?
He is currently the acting head coach at Southern Miss. Listen, we'll have international guys. We'll have some flair. We won't have to deal with that NIL money. Bring in Juan Cardona. If you want to have a hell of a defense, bring in Juan Cardona. He's going to be crawling on the damn floor.
Have no idea who that is.
Let me see if
I didn't know who it was
video.
either.
All right. Well,
any other dark horse candidates?
I'm good. I think I'm good.
Yeah, I pretty well spit it out. But I did want to, before we bail off of here, I did want to mention that tomorrow night we are starting our Friday night series. Normally we're on Wednesdays because of basketball this week. And then again, next week we've shifted to Thursdays. But once we get back into that normal Wednesday night routine, that'll be more normal. But we are switching to having a second night. And then tomorrow night is the debut of that second night, Friday night series. Ty, as you guys all know, one of our co-hosts on the show, is unable to work because of his new job, is unable to host with us on Wednesdays now. So we're gonna add a second night, and because of the demand and the growth of the channel just demands it. So we're happy to announce we're going to be adding that second night. Starting tomorrow night. Ty's got a lot of cool thoughts that he's put into it. Looking forward to that tomorrow night. He's put together a little Wheel of Fortune type game.
You're definitely gonna want to be there for that.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
It'll be the first Louisville Wheel of Fortune game ever, which I can't remember. Do you guys remember? My memories deceive me.
Don't bring up Jeopardy. I'm still salty on the Jeopardy.
Who won the first Jeopardy game in the history of Louisville sports? Oh, wait. Go to my Twitter, Kyle Spire. Go to my bio. It's in there. There it is. It's right in my bio. The only person, look, right here, the only person in Louisville sports Jeopardy history to win in human civilization. In human civilization. Nobody else in the world.
I'm still really pissed at myself that I missed the Purvis Ellison question, and I said –
maybe if Angel Hernandez wasn't.
I said Felton Spencer.
Well, remember the very first question? I missed Jay Scrub. Like I hit the buzzer and I knew it was him, but I fumbled. And I was like, Suggs.
So I found a video of Juan Cardona. If y'all want to see him.
Who?
I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Save that for a future pod.
Do you any last words here tonight, guys? Connor, you got any last words tonight?
Almost to 500. Like and subscribe.
There you go.
Tell a friend.
Also, I want to listen to this Space. I got Curry Hicks in there tonight. I'm gonna listen.
Is it bad that I don't know who we play on Saturday?
I don't
Pittsburgh.
either.
We play at Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. So it's on the road. We're gonna lose. Got it.
I mean, we played better on the road, but yeah, we're not winning a whole lot.
And Pitt just beat Virginia, man, which is I cannot believe it.
And Pittsburgh, all they fucking do is shoot. Like,
yeah, y'all check out this Power 10 Spaces. I got Curry Hicks in there tonight, the coaching carousel guy that's pretty well known on Twitter these days. He was on Ethan's show last week. I don't know if you're watching, but whoever was like, hey, we're going to watch the Third Banner Pod tonight at 9 because it's better than your show. Let's not do that, guys. We're not here shaming our platforms.
Yeah, we want to
and I want to listen to their platform because if they got Curry Hicks on right now, he's an interesting guy. And I've listened enough of this guy to know, like, he actually got on another Burners Space not too long ago. and basically called him out and was like, "This is why I know you're not telling the truth to people and you're not being honest." And he gave like 8 reasons. I was like, "All right, this guy knows what he's talking about." And since then, I've been like tuned in. So he's in there right now on Twitter talking Louisville sports. So Power 10 is what it's called. So check it out, guys.
All right, my last words tonight. 289 days until we beat UK in football. And the rest of the guys don't even know this, but because I'm moving back, I'm wanting to start some cool stuff for that game. We are going to invade Lexington that day. The game's in Lexington.
I was getting ready to say I'm already gonna be there.
We are going to host a Third Banner Pod tailgate somewhere in Lexington on game day.
I know exactly where to do it.
But I'm going, and we're hosting the Third Banner Pod tailgate in Lexington on the Governor's Cup day.
Hell no.
Listen, I
don't mind people drinking, but I don't want to be. I
will be there. Ross will be there.
Yell at
I'm gonna be there.
We are going to get a party together, and we are going to tailgate the Third Banner Pod official on the road tailgate in Lexington in 289 days.
I already have a spot
any
for
last
you.
Words?
I already have a spot for you.
Have y'all been to UK?
I have been there many times.
Yes.
It's awesome.
I've been twice. I
was there for the Stevie Johnson catch. So
first off, you can deal with the stench. I mean,
hey,
the Stevie Johnson.
We're gonna be there. We're gonna be in there, and we're gonna listen. I'm with you, Ash. We're bringing it home this year. There's no better time to bring that Governor's Cup back than this year. On the road, it's going to happen this year. It is happening. So I'm with you there. 289 days. I cannot wait. We got the spring game before that. We're gonna have a Third Banner Pod official tailgate at the spring game. So
Ash, what are we smoking, man?
Whoa.
Not weed.
Whoa.
I'm like brisket. No, brisket take too long. What are we gonna put on the smoker, man?
I may not even have my smoker there yet because all my stuff's not coming right away.
Man, mine's real heavy. Mine's like 200 pounds.
I'm gonna come and get it from you, and we're gonna come and bring it. So
we will figure something out. We will have a Third Banner Pod tailgate for the spring game.
No, it's
I
happening.
didn't need that conversation, right? I said, "What are we smoking?"
I know. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Smoking meat.
That is written. Listen, that's written in stone. So let's just take it one step at a time. It's gonna be.
We got a lot of cool
awesome
stuff that we're gonna work
Danny
on.
said, "Got that hog in him at Lexington."
It's gonna be awesome. So, I ain't got really anything to say. We had everything to say. I will just, I always ended on go Cards, go Kroger.
Ross,
I mean,
go Publixing.
Go Cards.